first thing that we're going to want to do is get rid of the battery box. That way we can actually get access to our hoses and our thermostat housing. So make it a whole lot easier. We might even move the air box as well. We'll just see how that goes when the time comes for it. Removing the battery box is just as simple as that. Then you gotta disconnect the battery. You always want to go positive first, then the negative, and the battery hold down. And then there'll be 3 bolts underneath there that you're also gonna have to remove. Once that's removed, it just lifts up. So the next step is going to be to come over and remove your coolant cap. This will allow air into the system so that it'll flow smoothly. One thing that I've always been taught is once you take a cap off, you want to put it right on top of your hood latch. This is for the reason that if you shut your hood without putting everything back the way it should be, you'll break the cap, which is a whole lot cheaper than breaking your motor. Now it's time to drain the radiator. On some models, the radiator will drain through the radiator isolator, making it a really clean project. We are going to remove the upper radiator hose. This hose goes from the top of the driver's side of the vehicle, under the intake hose, and then into the thermostat housing. On my trip out to Colorado, my coolant overflow tube fell onto the power steering pulley and got a hole in it. I used some emergency tape to seal the hose, but wanted to make more of a permanent fix for the rest of my trip. I stopped at AutoZone in Kansas, which was the only auto parts store around. As you can see, the emergency tape held up so good that I couldn't get it all off. This hose goes from the top of the thermostat housing, across the top of the radiator, and over to the coolant reservoir. The replacement part number is 1S4Z8K012AA. I believe I paid $34 for this online. Next, we remove the heater hose from the front of the thermostat housing. Next, we remove the heater hose from the front of the thermostat housing. To remove the thermostat housing, there are three 10mm bolts. If you have a ratcheting wrench, this will be a breeze. Since I'm working at my buddy's house, I did not have one. Once the housing is removed from the engine block, there is one more hose to remove on the back. This is replacement thermostat housing part number B001C6Q8AC. I purchased this off of Amazon because of the free 2-day shipping. It comes complete with the thermostat. I noticed a small gap in the housing and wanted to make sure that it was sealed properly. For this, I used some black silicone to fill the gap. Now it's time to install the new upper radiator hose. I found that tightening the clamp from the bottom was the easiest since the car was up on lifts. Next we can reinstall the battery box and hook back up the battery. The lower radiator hose gave me a lot of problems. To begin with, I don't know how, but I think that this was the factory radiator hose, even though my vehicle is 16 years old. The positioning of the clamp was in such a way that the only way that it was put on was with the AC compressor off and the power steering hose and power steering pump removed. I had to take the power steering pump off to access this hose. This is not typically required, but something to keep in mind. I also had to remove the headlight in order to pull the pump fully out of the engine bay. To get the lower hose off, I literally had to cut the hose to about 6 inches so that I could access the clamp with the hose clamp pliers. After I got the clamp off, there was no physical way to pull the hose off. I had to cut along the hose lengthwise and peel it off. The rubber had hardened so much that there was no flex in the hose. Upon putting in the new lower radiator hose, I quickly found out that I was going to need to cut some of it off. The hose was an exact match to the factory one, except the aftermarket one used a T-fitting in the middle that ended up being wider. This caused the hose to kink when fully installed. I cut about 1.5 inches off of each end. I installed the lower hose clamp so that I am now able to access it without removing any parts of the vehicle. I then attached the hose to the bottom of the radiator before moving up to the top. On the top, I connected the last part of the lower radiator hose and tightened it down. Now comes the fun part. I added 1 gallon of distilled water to the radiator, then I started the vehicle. I kept my hand on the upper radiator hose and waited for it to get hot from the fluid exchange. Once I felt the coolant moving out of the engine, I shut it off and drained the radiator. I repeated this step 4 times until the radiator was coming out completely clean. This ensured that all the old coolant had been removed. Next, I added 1 gallon of straight coolant into the reservoir. There is often a lot of confusion as to why to use full-strength coolant. The answer is simple. Your engine is holding about 1 gallon of distilled water even with the radiator completely drained. When you add another gallon of full-strength coolant into the reservoir, it will eventually mix, giving you a 50-50 mix. If you used a 50-50 mix coolant, you would actually have a 75% mix of water, which could cause your coolant to freeze and damage your engine. A good rule of thumb is to use 50-50 mix only when you are topping off your coolant system. With the full strength coolant in, start the vehicle and let it run until the vehicle gets up to the normal operating temperature. Carefully watch the coolant level and the temperature gauge to ensure that there are no air pockets in the engine. After a few days, check the coolant level and the mixture using a Prestone Antifreeze Tester. This will let you know what freeze and heat temperatures your current mixture is good for. Thanks for watching and hit the thumbs up button if this video helped you out.